In this video, we explore the life and death of Maurice Boucher, a controversial figure whose career left profound marks on Canadian society. Our goal is to educate and reflect on the consequences of her actions without glorifying or romanticizing her figure or the events associated with her. Maurice Boucher was born in 1953 in a working-class neighbourhood of Montreal, a city known for its vibrant culture but also for its underbelly of organised crime. Growing up in a milieu marked by poverty and limited opportunities, Boucher was exposed to the harsh realities of life from an early age. His childhood was far from idyllic, and the streets became his classroom, shaping his worldview and future trajectory. It was in this environment that Boucher began to exhibit the traits that would later define his criminal career: a sharp intellect, a ruthless ambition, and a disregard for the law. Boucher's entry into the world of crime was not a sudden leap, but a gradual descent. As a young man, he was involved in petty crimes and street-level drug dealing, which provided him with a steady income and a sense of belonging. However, it was his association with the Hells Angels that would prove to be a turning point in his life. The Hells Angels, a notorious motorcycle gang with a global presence, were expanding their operations in Quebec during the 1970s and 1980s. They were looking for individuals who were not only loyal, but also capable of handling the complex and often violent nature of their business. Boucher's rise within the Hells Angels was meteoric. He quickly gained a reputation for his strategic mind and his ability to navigate the treacherous waters of the criminal underworld. His leadership qualities were evident, and he soon rose through the ranks, earning the respect and fear of his peers. By the late 1980s, Boucher had become a prominent figure within the organisation, known for his no-nonsense approach and his willingness to use violence to achieve his goals. One of the key factors that facilitated Boucher's ascent was the climate of corruption that pervaded Quebec during this period. The province was experiencing significant social and political upheaval, and the lines between law enforcement and the criminal world were often blurred. Boucher was adept at exploiting these weaknesses, forging alliances with corrupt officials and using them to his advantage. This network of corruption provided him with a degree of protection and allowed him to operate with relative impunity. Boucher's leadership style was characterized by a combination of charisma and intimidation. He was a master at manipulating those around him, using a mix of fear and loyalty to maintain control. His ability to inspire both respect and terror in equal measure was a testament to his cunning and his understanding of human psychology. Under his guidance, the Hells Angels expanded their influence, becoming a dominant force in the Quebec drug trade and other illicit activities. However, Boucher's rise was not without its challenges. He faced opposition from rival gangs and law enforcement agencies, which were increasingly focused on dismantling the Hells Angels operations. Despite these pressures, Boucher remained resilient, using his resources and connections to outmaneuver his adversaries. His ability to adapt to changing circumstances and his unwavering determination were key to his continued success. The beginning of Boucher's ascent was marked by a series of events that would have far-reaching consequences for Quebec and beyond. His story is a cautionary tale about the corrosive effects of corruption and the dangers of unchecked ambition. As we examine his rise, it is important to consider the broader social and political context that allowed him to thrive. By understanding the factors that contributed to his success, we can gain valuable insights into the nature of organised crime and the challenges of combating it. In conclusion, the early years of Maurice Boucher's life set the stage for his eventual dominance in the world of organised crime. His journey from a troubled youth to a powerful gang leader is a testament to the complex interplay of personal ambition, systemic corruption, and social upheaval. As we delve deeper into his story, we are reminded of the importance of vigilance and the need to address the root causes of crime to prevent the emergence of future leaders like Boucher. As Maurice Boucher solidified his position within the Hells Angels during the late 1980s and early 1990s, his influence extended beyond the confines of the gang, casting a long and ominous shadow over the city of Montreal and the province of Quebec. This period marked the beginning of what would be known as his reign of terror, a time characterized by escalating violence, intimidation, and a blatant disregard for the rule of law. Boucher's ambition knew no bounds, and he was determined to eliminate any and all competition, establishing the Hells Angels as the undisputed rulers of the Quebec underworld. Boucher's approach to leadership was brutally simple: dominance through fear. He orchestrated a campaign of violence that targeted not only rival gangs, but also anyone who dared to challenge his authority. This period saw a dramatic increase in gang-related violence, with drive-by shootings, bombings, and assassinations becoming almost commonplace. The city of Montreal was gripped by a climate of fear as Boucher's enforcers carried out his orders with ruthless efficiency. The violence was not confined to the criminal underworld. Innocent bystanders often found themselves caught in the crossfire, leading to a growing sense of unease and insecurity among the general population. One of the most notorious incidents during this time was the Biker War, a violent conflict between the Hells Angels and their rivals, the Rock Machine. This turf war, which raged from 1994 to 2002, was marked by extreme brutality and resulted in over 160 deaths, including those of innocent civilians. Boucher's strategic acumen was on full display as he orchestrated attacks and counterattacks using both overt violence and covert tactics to gain the upper hand. The war was not just a battle for territory, but also a struggle for control over the lucrative drug trade, particularly the distribution of cocaine and other illicit substances. Boucher's reign was also marked by his ability to manipulate and coerce those around him. He cultivated a network of informants and collaborators, including corrupt law enforcement officials and politicians, who provided him with valuable intelligence and protection. This web of corruption allowed him to operate with a degree of impunity, as he used his connections to evade arrest and undermine investigations. His influence extended into the judicial system, where he was known to intimidate witnesses and interfere with legal proceedings. The impact of Boucher's reign of terror was profound and far-reaching. The violence and instability that characterized this period had a devastating effect on the social fabric of Quebec, leaving a legacy of fear and mistrust. The Hells Angels' dominance of the drug trade fueled addiction and crime, exacerbating existing social problems and creating new ones. The economic costs were also significant as businesses suffered from the climate of insecurity and investment in the region declined. Despite the chaos and destruction wrought by Boucher's actions, it is important to recognize the resilience of the communities affected by his reign. Grassroots movements and community organizations emerged in response to the violence, advocating for peace and justice and demanding action from law enforcement and government officials. These efforts laid the groundwork for future initiatives aimed at dismantling organized crime and addressing the root causes of gang violence. In conclusion, Maurice Boucher's reign of terror was a dark chapter in the history of Quebec, marked by violence, corruption, and a blatant disregard for human life. His ability to wield power and influence with such devastating effect serves as a stark reminder of the dangers posed by organized crime and the importance of combating it with determination and resolve. As we reflect on this period, we are reminded of the need for vigilance and the ongoing struggle to build a safer, more just society. The downfall of Maurice Boucher was a protracted and complex process, marked by a combination of dogged law enforcement efforts, internal strife within the Hells Angels, and a shifting socio-political landscape in Quebec. By the late 1990s, Boucher's empire, built on a foundation of fear and violence, began to show signs of vulnerability. The relentless pressure from law enforcement agencies, both local and international, coupled with growing public outrage and political will to dismantle organized crime, set the stage for his eventual demise. One of the pivotal moments in Boucher's fall was the establishment of a dedicated task force aimed at dismantling the Hells Angels' operations. Known as Operation Springtime, this multi-agency initiative was launched in 2001 and represented a significant escalation in the fight against organized crime in Quebec. The task force employed a combination of traditional investigative techniques and innovative strategies, including the use of undercover agents and electronic surveillance, to gather evidence against Boucher and his associates. The operation culminated in a series of high-profile arrests, including that of Boucher himself, who was apprehended in 2002 on charges of ordering the murders of 2 prison guards. Boucher's arrest was a major blow to the Hells Angels, but it was not the end of his influence. While incarcerated, he continued to wield power, using his connections and resources to maintain control over the gang's operations. His ability to manipulate the system and intimidate witnesses posed significant challenges for prosecutors, who faced an uphill battle in securing a conviction. However, the tide began to turn as more individuals within the organization, facing the prospect of lengthy prison sentences, chose to cooperate with authorities, providing crucial testimony that would ultimately prove damning for Boucher. The trial of Maurice Boucher was a landmark event in the fight against organised crime in Canada. It exposed the inner workings of the Hells Angels and the extent of their influence within the criminal justice system. The proceedings were marked by high drama, as witnesses recounted tales of violence and corruption, and Boucher's defence team employed a range of tactics to discredit the prosecution's case. Despite these challenges, the evidence presented was overwhelming, and in 2002, Boucher was found guilty of murder and conspiracy, resulting in a life sentence with no possibility of parole for 25 years. Boucher's conviction was a significant victory for law enforcement and a testament to the power of collaboration and perseverance. However, his fall was not solely the result of legal proceedings. Internal divisions within the Hells Angels, fueled by power struggles and differing visions for the future of the organization, further weakened his position. As the gang faced increasing scrutiny and pressure, factions emerged, leading to a breakdown in the once unified front that had characterized the Hells Angels under Boucher's leadership. The impact of Boucher's downfall was profound, both for the Hells Angels and for Quebec society as a whole. His conviction and imprisonment marked a turning point in the fight against organized crime, signaling a shift in the balance of power and a renewed commitment to dismantling criminal networks. The dismantling of the Hells Angels hierarchy led to a decline in their influence, as other criminal organizations sought to fill the void left by their diminished presence. In conclusion, the fall of Maurice Boucher was a multifaceted process, driven by a combination of law enforcement efforts, internal strife, and changing societal attitudes towards organized crime. His conviction and imprisonment were the culmination of years of work by dedicated individuals who refused to be intimidated by the threat of violence and corruption. As we reflect on his downfall, we are reminded of the importance of resilience, collaboration, and the unwavering pursuit of justice in the fight against the forces of darkness that threaten our communities. Maurice Boucher's life behind bars following his conviction in 2002 was a testament to his enduring influence and the complex dynamics of power within the prison system. Despite being incarcerated, Boucher continued to exert control over the Hells Angels and maintain his status as a formidable figure within the criminal underworld. His ability to navigate the challenges of prison life and manipulate the system to his advantage highlighted the resilience and adaptability that had characterized his criminal career. Life in prison for Boucher was far from the end of his reign. Rather, it marked a new chapter in his ongoing struggle for dominance. Incarcerated at the maximum security penitentiary in Saint-Anne-des-Plaines, Quebec, Boucher was confined but not subdued. He quickly adapted to the strict routines and harsh realities of prison life, using his time to strategize and maintain his grip on the gang's operations. His cell became a command center of sorts from which he continued to issue directives and orchestrate activities on the outside. One of the key factors that allowed Boucher to retain his influence was his ability to cultivate and exploit relationships within the prison. He built a network of allies, both among fellow inmates and prison staff, which provided him with a degree of protection and access to information. His charisma and reputation preceded him, and many inmates were either loyal to him or feared crossing him. This network was crucial in helping him circumvent the restrictions placed on his communication and movement, allowing him to stay connected with the Hells Angels and other criminal associates. Boucher's time in prison was also marked by his ongoing legal battles and attempts to appeal his convictions. He used his resources to hire skilled lawyers and mount a series of legal challenges, seeking to overturn his sentence or secure a reduction in his prison term. These efforts were part of a broader strategy to maintain hope among his followers and project an image of invincibility. Despite the setbacks he faced in court, Boucher remained defiant, using his platform to challenge the authorities and rally support for his cause. The prison environment itself was not immune to the influence of Boucher's presence. The tension and volatility that often accompany high-profile inmates were amplified in his case, as rival factions and competing interests vied for power and influence. Boucher's rivalry with other criminal organizations, particularly those that sought to fill the void left by the Hells Angels' diminished status, played out within the confines of the prison, leading to incidents of violence and intimidation. Despite the challenges and restrictions of prison life, Boucher remained a potent symbol of resistance and resilience for his followers. His ability to maintain his status and influence from behind bars was a source of inspiration for some, and a cause for concern for law enforcement and prison officials. the authorities were forced to implement additional security measures and monitor his activities closely, recognizing the potential for him to orchestrate further criminal activities from within the prison. In conclusion, Maurice "Mum" Boucher's life in prison was a reflection of his enduring power and the complex interplay of forces that defined his criminal career. His ability to adapt to the prison environment and maintain his influence over the Hells Angels demonstrated the depth of his leadership and the challenges faced by those tasked with containing his influence. As we reflect on his time in prison, we are reminded of the ongoing struggle to balance the need for security and justice with the complexities of managing individuals who continue to exert influence from within the confines of incarceration. The death of Maurice "Mum" Boucher in 2012 marked the end of an era in the annals of Canadian organised crime, yet it was an event shrouded in mystery and speculation. Found lifeless in his cell at the maximum security penitentiary in Saint-Anne-des-Plaines, Quebec, Boucher's passing was officially attributed to a heart attack. However, the circumstances surrounding his death have given rise to numerous conspiracy theories and lingering questions that continue to intrigue and perplex observers to this day. Boucher, who had been serving a life sentence with no possibility of parole for 25 years, had been a formidable presence within the prison system. His death, therefore, was met with a mix of disbelief and suspicion. While the official cause of death was a heart attack, the timing and suddenness of his passing fueled speculation that there was more to the story. Some believed that Boucher's death was the result of foul play, orchestrated by rival gangs or even elements within the prison system who saw him as a threat or an obstacle. The Hells Angels, the organisation that Boucher had once led with an iron fist, were quick to issue statements expressing their condolences and loyalty. However, the internal dynamics of the gang had shifted significantly since Boucher's imprisonment, and his death further complicated the power struggles within the organisation. With Boucher's passing, the Hells Angels faced the challenge of redefining their leadership and direction, as the vacuum left by his death created opportunities for new factions to emerge and vie for control. Outside the confines of the gang, Boucher's death was met with a sense of relief by many in the community who had lived through the terror and violence of his reign. His demise marked the end of a chapter marked by fear and intimidation, and it was seen as a symbolic victory for law enforcement and the justice system. However, the legacy of his crimes and the impact of his actions continued to resonate as communities grappled with the long-term consequences of the violence and corruption he had orchestrated. The investigation into Boucher's death was thorough, yet it did little to quell the rumours and speculation that surrounded his passing. The authorities maintained that there was no evidence of foul play, and the official narrative remained that his death was due to natural causes. However, the lack of transparency and the persistent questions about the circumstances of his death left room for doubt and conjecture. In the broader context, Boucher's death highlighted the challenges faced by law enforcement and the criminal justice system in dealing with high-profile criminals and the organisations they lead. His ability to maintain influence and control from within the prison system underscored the need for ongoing vigilance and the importance of addressing the root causes of organised crime. The void left by his death also served as a reminder of the resilience and adaptability of criminal networks, which often find ways to persist and evolve in the face of adversity. In conclusion, the death of Maurice "Mum" Boucher was a significant event that marked the end of a tumultuous period in Canadian criminal history. While his passing brought a sense of closure to some, the lingering questions and the enduring impact of his crimes ensured that his legacy would continue to be felt for years to come. As we reflect on his life and death, we are reminded of the complexities of combating organised crime and the ongoing need for strategies that address both the symptoms and the underlying causes of this pervasive issue. The death of Maurice "Mum" Boucher in 201, the second of, may have marked the end of his reign of terror, but the consequences of his actions continue to reverberate through Quebec and beyond, leaving a lasting impact on the social, political, and criminal landscapes. Boucher's legacy is one of violence, corruption, and a profound disruption of the social fabric, with effects that are still felt in various ways today. The Hells Angels, the organisation he once led, have faced significant challenges in the aftermath of his demise, yet the broader implications of his criminal activities persist, influencing law enforcement strategies, community dynamics, and the collective psyche of those affected by his reign. One of the most significant consequences of Boucher's era is the lasting distrust and fear that permeated communities during his reign. The violence and intimidation tactics employed by the Hells Angels under his leadership created an atmosphere of insecurity that affected not only those directly involved in criminal activities, but also ordinary citizens who lived in constant fear of becoming collateral damage. This climate of fear has had long-term psychological effects, contributing to a sense of mistrust towards law enforcement and government institutions that were perceived as either ineffective or complicit in the criminal activities. The criminal landscape in Quebec has also been reshaped by the power vacuum left by Boucher's death. While the Hells Angels initially struggled to maintain their dominance without his leadership, the void created by his absence has led to increased competition and conflict among various criminal organizations vying for control over the drug trade and other illicit activities. This ongoing struggle for power has resulted in sporadic outbreaks of violence and instability as different factions seek to assert their authority and fill the gap left by the Hells Angels' diminished influence. Law enforcement agencies have had to adapt their strategies in response to the evolving nature of organized crime in the region. The lessons learned from combating Boucher's empire have informed new approaches to dismantling criminal networks, emphasizing the importance of intelligence gathering, interagency collaboration, and community engagement. The fight against organized crime has become more sophisticated, with a focus on targeting the financial infrastructure of criminal organizations and disrupting their operations through coordinated efforts. Communities that were once terrorized by Boucher and the Hells Angels have shown remarkable resilience in the face of adversity. Grassroots movements and local initiatives have emerged aimed at rebuilding trust, promoting social cohesion, and providing support to those affected by gang violence. These efforts have been crucial in helping communities heal and move forward, fostering a sense of empowerment and collective responsibility among residents. The political and legal ramifications of Boucher's era are also significant. His ability to manipulate the system and exploit weaknesses within the criminal justice system has led to calls for reform and greater accountability. The fight against corruption and the need to strengthen institutions have become central themes in public discourse as society grapples with the challenges of addressing the root causes of organized crime and ensuring that justice is served. In conclusion, the lasting consequences of Maurice Boucher's actions are a testament to the far-reaching impact of organized crime on society. His legacy serves as a stark reminder of the importance of vigilance, collaboration, and resilience in the face of adversity. As we reflect on the enduring effects of his reign, we are reminded of the ongoing struggle to build safer, more just communities and the need for a comprehensive approach to combating the complex and multifaceted nature of organized crime. This video is an invitation to reflect on how individual and collective choices shape the world around us. We hope that by understanding the consequences of Boucher's actions, we can work together to prevent such events from happening again. If you like this video and want to continue learning about important topics, subscribe to our channel, turn on notifications, and leave a like. Your participation is essential for us to maintain this space for learning and reflection.